The day I discovered my husband's secret life started like every other ordinary Tuesday. I remember standing in the kitchen, pouring coffee into my favorite mug while the morning sunlight spilled across the counter. My husband, Ethan, kissed me on the forehead before leaving for work. "See you tonight," he said with a smile. I smiled back. At that moment, I had no reason to doubt him. For 11 years, Ethan had been my world. We met in college. We built a life together from nothing. We survived financial struggles, career setbacks, and countless challenges. Through it all, I believed we were a team. At least, that's what I thought. People often told me how lucky I was. "You two are perfect together. Ethan adores you. Your marriage is inspiring." And honestly, I believed it too. Our life wasn't perfect, but it felt real. Or maybe it only felt real because I didn't know the truth. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. The late-night business trips, the phone calls he took outside, the way he suddenly changed passwords, the way he always seemed distracted whenever I asked simple questions. But love has a strange way of hiding the obvious. When you trust someone completely, you don't look for reasons to doubt them. You explain away the warning signs. You protect the image you've built in your mind. That's exactly what I did, until everything changed. One afternoon, Ethan accidentally left his tablet at home. It wasn't unusual. I planned to drop it off at his office later. But while I was charging it, a notification appeared on the screen. At first, I ignored it. Then another appeared, and another. The sender's name wasn't familiar, but the message underneath made my heart stop. "I can't wait to see you tonight." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My hands froze. My mind searched desperately for an explanation. There had to be one. There had to be. But what I didn't know that day was that this message was only the beginning. And the truth hiding behind it would destroy everything I thought I knew about my husband. My heart pounded as I stared at the screen. Every instinct told me to put the tablet down, to pretend I had never seen the message. Because deep down, I already feared what I might find. But curiosity is powerful, and sometimes the truth demands to be seen. With trembling fingers, I opened the conversation. The messages stretched back for months. Photos, plans, private jokes, affectionate words that should have belonged to a husband speaking to his wife. I felt physically sick, but then something caught my attention. The conversation wasn't just romantic. There were references to places Ethan had supposedly visited for work, references to expenses I had never heard about, references to people whose names meant nothing to me. The deeper I looked, the stranger everything became. This wasn't simply an affair. This was an entirely different life, a life I knew nothing about. And as painful as that realization was, I had no idea that the biggest secret was still waiting to be uncovered. For the next several days, I lived in silence. I smiled when Ethan came home. I nodded during dinner conversations. I pretended everything was normal. Meanwhile, inside, my world was collapsing. I began quietly gathering information. Bank statements, travel records, emails, receipts. Every piece of information revealed another layer of deception. The husband I thought I knew seemed to disappear more each day. The business trips weren't always business trips. The overtime hours weren't always work. The explanations I'd accepted for years suddenly stopped making sense. Then one evening, I discovered something that shattered me completely. Ethan had been renting an apartment across town for nearly 3 years. 3 years. While I was planning anniversaries, celebrating birthdays, and believing in our future, he had been maintaining a second life. I remember sitting alone in my car outside that apartment building. The lights were on. Someone was inside. And for the first time, I realized just how little I knew about the man I had married. I cried until there were no tears left. Not because of the apartment, not because of the lies, but because I was mourning the future I thought we shared. The future I believed was real. A future that had never truly existed. For weeks, I struggled between confrontation and patience. Part of me wanted answers immediately. Part of me wanted to understand everything first. So I waited, and that decision changed everything. The more evidence I gathered, the more shocking the truth became. The apartment wasn't his only secret. There were hidden accounts, hidden expenses, hidden commitments, entire chapters of his life that had never included me. Meanwhile, Ethan continued acting like the perfect husband. Every smile felt rehearsed. Every compliment felt hollow. Every promise felt empty. Eventually, I realized something important. The greatest betrayal wasn't the secret life itself. It was the years of deception that made me question my own reality. I had trusted him completely, and he had used that trust as protection for his lies. That realization transformed my pain into strength. I stopped seeing myself as a victim. I started seeing myself as someone who deserved the truth, someone who deserved respect, someone who deserved peace. And once I reached that point, I knew exactly what I had to do. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to create drama. I was going to let the truth speak for itself. And when the moment came, it would change everything. A month later, Ethan came home expecting another ordinary evening. Instead, he found a folder waiting on the dining table. Inside was every document, every receipt, every record, every piece of evidence. His face turned pale the moment he opened it. For the first time in years, he had no explanation, no story, no excuse, just silence. I sat across from him calmly. The anger I once felt had disappeared. What remained was clarity. He tried apologizing. He tried explaining. He tried saying he never meant to hurt me. But intentions no longer mattered. The damage had already been done. Trust is fragile. And once it's broken repeatedly, words alone cannot rebuild it. That night, for the first time in years, I felt something unexpected. Relief. Not because my marriage was ending, but because the uncertainty was finally over. The truth was no longer hiding in the shadows. It was standing in the light, and that changed everything. The months that followed were difficult. There were painful conversations, hard decisions, moments of grief, but there was also healing. For years, I had built my identity around being someone's wife. Now I had to rediscover who I was on my own. Slowly I did. I traveled. I reconnected with friends. I pursued dreams I had postponed for years. Most importantly, I learned to trust myself again. Because the biggest lesson wasn't about Ethan. It was about me. It was about recognizing my worth even when someone else failed to see it. Today, when I look back, I no longer feel consumed by anger. I feel grateful for the truth. Painful as it was, the truth set me free. Sometimes people hide secrets because they fear losing what they have. But in the end, secrets often destroy the very things they are meant to protect. My husband's secret life eventually unraveled, but so did the illusion I had been living inside. And from those broken pieces, I built something stronger. A life based on honesty. A life based on self-respect. A life based on truth. Because the greatest revenge is not making someone suffer. It's refusing to let their betrayal define your future. And that is exactly what I chose to do.